welcome to TA Innovation Hive. Super excited to be with you all today, discussing a hot topic, which is one of our free downloadable toolkits. Today, we're going to be discussing the topic of how to measure your TA team's success. I'm Rob Devlin, one of the co-founders of TA Innovation Hive, and I am super excited to be joined today by Becky, Foden, and Dom. Hi guys.
Hey Rob.
How's it going? So just before we get things going, we'll just do some quick intros and then we're going to get right into this juicy topic. So Becky, how's it going?
Hi Rob, hi Dom. So my name's Becky Foden and I'm one of the co-founders of TA Innovation Hive, and this is a really exciting session to talk about how to measure success in TA, and we have a free toolkit on our website. So yeah, really excited to bring this to life.
Great to see you, Becky. Dom, do you want to give us a quick intro?
Yeah, certainly. Hey Rob, hey Becky. So I'm Dominic Joyce, current founder of Maverick Otter, but also recent head of TA. And excited to join you both on this journey of discovery and discussion.
Absolutely. So great to be with you both. I mean, this is a juicy topic right now. So measuring the success of your TA team. I think, wherever I've worked, this has obviously been a hot one, but I think particularly in regards to the current market and, the craziness of everything's going on, it's really making people, I think twice about what those key measures really are in the market right now. Becky, what do you think?
So I think from experience, there are clearly hard measures in terms of how we are measured and the credibility of TA in-house, but also for me there are other measures which I tend to measure myself on, and that's really around the soft measures, and this is about trying to be more credible as a function and not seen as order takers or even transactional and reactive. So I'm really keen to talk about the soft measures, which I think are more fun and more impactful, and also gives you that kind of recruitment soul food. So we all know the hard measures, and I'd like to challenge some of those and from the feedback that I've had, but for me it's all about the soft measures.
What are your favourite soft measures? Tell us more.
So there's clearly soft measures like hiring manager feedback. As a recruiter, we know that day in, day out, it can be pretty relentless. And for me, I have always enjoyed talking to stakeholders. And it's fair to say in my last role as a leader, I didn't have as much stakeholder connectivity as some of my team, and I really had FOMO, and I love getting feedback from stakeholders. So you can have hiring manager satisfaction surveys, but even just a hiring manager saying thank you, or a candidate, I remember the old days where you'd perhaps get a box of chocolates from a candidate. So for me it's that soul food. It's going back to the purpose of why we're here and why we're helping candidates. So having feedback from your stakeholders and your customers is really important. But there are other soft measures as well. But let's get back to, I guess, the grassroots of recruitment.
Yeah, I love that. Dom, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree to Becky's point. I think also as well, you've still got really old school, ingrained, hard metrics. So whilst you probably see an agency, people have started to do away with the whole KPIs now, and it's not about the calls, that you make per day. You're still seeing in recruitment things like time to hire, which it just looks at the top line of it, doesn't look at it holistically. We all know that hiring people in the retail front line is much quicker than hiring someone who's a tax accountant. It doesn't take into account, obviously, it just looks at that. There's no asterisks there saying this took 100 days to hire, brackets, it was tax accountant and not a customer service assistant. So there's that there, that's the issue. You've then obviously got things that are becoming, I think, that are untapped. So I did a talk at LinkedIn with our breakfast around quality of hire. No one actually measuring the quality of hire once they're in the business. So it seems like a lot of metrics are so tapped towards the whole engagement, attraction, onboarding piece. Why aren't we measuring it when they're in the business? Because again, it's about combat attrition, It's about longevity. It's about all of the above, given that warm, fuzzy feeling they join the business. But also then it's like no one tracks it. So let's stop looking at the more direct trackers and try and look more holistically about how we kind of measure success, right?
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, and certainly in healthcare, you've hit the nail on the head. A lot of my clients are really concerned about the retention aspect, and I've done some what I think is pretty basic stuff around measuring that quality of hire, just in terms of how people are staying in role, and then how people are accelerating through induction and those sorts of things. And again, it's a really interesting evolution. In the time that I've been in recruitment, the focus kind of shifts a lot. And I don't know what you guys think, but at the minute in the marketplace, there's also been a lot of conversation around candidate experience, which again, Becky, I think is a soft measure. It could be hard, it could be soft. I think sometimes it's a bit of both. But because of technology, and I think because there's so much talent on the market at the minute, how closely are we really, following that candidate experience through, and what are we doing to ensure that those people that are working hard to apply are getting a great experience? How close really are our teams to that? How are we using new technology to create efficiency, which allows us to give candidates even more of that VIP human experience? I don't know, what do you both think about that? It's a hot topic.
So in my last role, it was high volume recruitment, and we were typically receiving around 70 to 80,000 applications per annum. So, there was this challenge of whether this organisation was seen as a rejection centre or a redirection centre. And so in terms of those soft measures, it's about looking at the assessment pass rates, but particularly around diversity demographics. So there are some simple things that you can do. So I'm a very practical person. So some of the things that we looked at was putting in a basic survey across all of the recruitment stages and candidate dispositions, right? And starting to really segment diversity and getting feedback, because that feedback is very qualitative and it will help you to design more effective solutions. So some of the, opportunities don't always have to cost a lot of money. You can use a very simple survey at dispositions. And then from a candidate care and nurturing point of view, we did actually make some investment in terms of the assessment process. So providing a nurturing video at each assessment process just before the candidate took the assessment, to allow them to feel that they were being supported. I think it's really important to support candidates right now, and that is a big brand differentiator. And I'm really a big fan of putting employer brand into the recruitment funnel. And I think employer brand right now, it seems to be at the top of the funnel around awareness of the company and interest to apply and decision to apply. But for me, employer brand needs to sit really across that recruitment funnel. And then how do you measure success, to your point, Rob? I think that's really important.
Yeah, I love that. And now most ATS technology will allow you to embed video. And if you can do that, even at a regional level as well as an enterprise level, I've had experience myself where, you may be recruiting a role within a specific operational region, and you can embed a really nice short video message from one of the regional leaders. And I think, candidates really love it, and it is a differentiator. Dom, what are your thoughts?
Even recruiter videos, I think they also love top tips from recruiters just before they do an assessment. It's quite a good way, and it's so simple.
Yeah, a good one. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think also it's feeling seen, right, by recruiters, because how often do you just get a generic "thanks for your CV, we'll be in touch"? And people like HubSpot do it really, really well. Like, look, thank you for applying to the job. Here's the next steps in the process if you're selected. Here's some social media links to our company. That's just a little bit more candidate care there, and you can embed that as part of your ATS line by editing your thank you message. Same again with a rejection email. It's not the end here. Whilst you weren't successful this time, stats show that we have. This is what I put in TravelX, is assessing boomerang candidates, those that enjoyed the process that much they came back to apply again, and just say, FYI, we've currently got a success rate of hiring boomerang candidates at around X%. So don't necessarily, this is not the end here. Just, it's not a no now. It's not a no forever. So that's, again, the key to obviously where we then decide how we communicate, right? And it's candidates and myself right now, just want to feel seen, but also as well, I learned from years ago working at Carphone Warehouse, if in doubt, under promise, over deliver. Don't say you'll come back to me on Wednesday and then come back to me on Thursday. Rather you say by Friday, I'll get a call Wednesday. Even if it's a no, it's a pleasant surprise to then be, and the problem is right now is recruiters are pressured to come back to people and they just make these outlandish timelines so they're not going to adhere to them. It's not going to happen. And yourself, you're thinking, I'm going to hear from you by tomorrow. I had that with another company recently. It was a 15-minute screening call and it was like, I don't know by tomorrow. And I was like, I'm going to hear from you next week. I know I am. And lo and behold, it happened. So if in doubt, under promise, over deliver, focus on boomerang candidates because they're people that have already been down and already. Simple, effective communication is where we're going wrong right now.
Yeah. It's a really good point actually, Dom, because for me, in a high volume recruitment process, there is it's different to experienced hire. I've been in experienced hire, I've been in exec hiring, but I do think that there's opportunities for a really good read across around how early careers or volume recruitment teams deal with candidates, because there's so many, and we have to make sure that we're giving a great candidate experience. And for me, there's again another soft measure to your point as well, is around engaging of the existing workforce to help provide more candidate care. It doesn't have to just be the recruiter. How are they getting some of the managers engaged to have those conversations? Like, for example, if you're doing internal recruitment, every candidate that's interviewed internally should get feedback. So we used to always make sure that the managers were giving feedback, not recruiters. So it's how do you kind of embed really great recruitment practice into your stakeholder groups? Because if we don't ask, we don't get. And I'm not sure that right now recruiters are, really trying to push the business and the wider, the workforce to help mobilise some of these recruitment issues.
Yeah.
Do you know what I want to see? I want to see undercover boss in recruitment. I want to see CPOs, HRDs, pretend to be a candidate who's an accountant, is a digital media executive. I want to see them apply to a job at their own company and get the treatment that candidates get. And they'll soon see that things are not rosy enough. I guarantee you now, HRDs, CHROs, CPOs haven't got a clue about what's being done right now in the current recruitment framework, right? They can go through it, put them through the rigmarole, and then they'll soon change their tune, and they'll soon probably invest more money in TA, understand the impact of obviously bad candidate experience, but they're oblivious to it. They just care about bums and seats and the numbers, right?
And another measure that I absolutely track myself on is around reduced nepotism and from hiring managers. And if they actually sat in the process and started doing a bit of mystery shopping, perhaps that might give them a second thought around nepotism, right, and preferential candidates, and kind of taking recruitment a lot more seriously as a profession in the way that recruiters have got an enormous lot of work on their plates right now. How does the business support the recruiters more effectively?
Yeah, some good challenges there. Undercover recruiter boss. I love that idea, Dom. It should be a TV series. And all of these tips and more are available in the downloadable toolkit. So we'd encourage everybody that's enjoyed the podcast today to become a member at tainnovationhive.com. Becoming a member gets you access to a whole load of free resources, which we hope you will enjoy using. And we would also love it if you would get involved in feeding back to us on the toolkits. Let us know what you think and let us know what great ideas you've got. So together we can continually improve those resources to support other members of our community. One last question from me, I think, is just about, for those people that might be interested in this topic and they're at the start of the journey and they're just beginning to introduce measures, how have you gone about that in places that you've worked? Because sometimes there can be so many measures, you're like, oh, where do I even start? So Becky, any ideas or suggestions on how people can start when they're at that early stage of the journey of implementing measures and scores?
So I think back to when I joined a large firm about 3 years ago, and the way that I made the most significant impact, because there was a lot of data. In fact, we can become entombed by data, right? And it's trying to understand which data points are going to add the most value. Diversity is absolutely crucial. So I would look straight away at diversity. I would be looking at any adverse impacts, and also are diverse talents disadvantaged in the recruitment process. So for example, if you have 10% applications from a certain demographic, then you should expect to see 10% hires, right? It's like baking a cake. You have I think there's an algorithm with baking the best sponge cake. You have so many eggs and you have exactly the same weight of flour, right? So it's exactly the same. So if you have 10% applications from a demographic, you should expect to see 10% hires. And that pathway needs to look really even. And if it doesn't look even, then that is the opportunity to start being really curious and asking questions, and to really get the business on board and seeing where those opportunities are.
Yeah, love it. Great one. Dom, how about you?
I think involve more in the process, right? Involve your stakeholders, involve HR, because that's where you truly understand what the key take-homes are, right, and what you want to measure as ROI, because I often feel like, the current state of play with regards to how much measure success has been drawn in by HR as to what they feel is the time of. But actually, talk to your stakeholders. What do they deem as success? As TA, what do we deem as success? Like, do we care really about the whole amount of how many emails we send, how many replies we get, to how many we convert to an interview? If we do, great, but focus on what the ROI is. It's obviously the investment you put into the return on it, right? ROI is a massive thing, and don't be busy fools. So, but equally as well, as I've learned, don't try and put things into place without consulting people that it affects, because equally as if you create an internal council, and then you know how it is, right? You can't come into emotion. You bring emotion, but you also bring stats and data to back up your rationale. You win hearts and minds. That's the way to do it. Not just setting in some archaic, atypical, stats and trackers that basically don't mean anything to anybody. You can then use to kind of like harangue your staff for not hitting targets that actually don't mean anything really. So targets have been used from times of old to basically help underperforming staff do a business. In reality, we look at it, half it doesn't even really kind of compute to what it needs. The numbers don't number. So involve people, be consultative, be collaborative.
Yeah,
it's a really good point, because I recently spoke to a stakeholder, and I asked them this question, and they said to me that they felt that TA, and I'm going to talk broadly here, not all of TA, but they felt that TA fundamentally did not understand how businesses made money. And if we don't have a seat at the table and we don't understand how a talent impacts EBITDA, for example, or commercial revenue streams, then effectively we will never have a seat at the table. So it's understanding how long, from a time to hire point of view, what is that costing the business, and then what are the other potential solutions, right? If it's going to take a lot longer because you have the time cost quality measure in recruitment, then what are the other solutions that you could be giving to the business, right, for that time not in seat? So it's really trying to Dom's point as well, is getting in the business and asking them questions like, how do you make money? How does talent support that endeavor? And I think if we do that, the business will be much more engaged and more willing to start supporting you with more creative solutions.
Yeah.
I think also as well, showcase your ROI to the business, showcase the impact that you hire in people and get them in. Because once you know how you make money, you can say, right, well, you make money this way, the team's hired this many people in this area, has impacted us to either basically reduce costs or to make money. We hire people that work in BD, in development, people work in accountancy. We basically hire people, and we're the main source of how the business makes money or saves money or performs, because ultimately we're the ones at the front line there, pick and choosing who's going to battle with us, but with the higher managers, right? So we're almost that conduit between the outside world and the business, and it's down to us to get it right. And depending on the size of the company, the bigger the company you are, one bad hire doesn't matter. Scale-ups, startups, SMEs, one bad hire could really impact the business. So, like Becky said, give us a seat at the table. I'm tired of HR being sat at the table talking on behalf of TA with two different functions.
Yeah. And there's another point, and I know we're going to close, but I think there's also another good calculation you can use around, I'll go back to diversity, right? But how are you bringing thought leadership into your role? And McKinsey reported, this was a long time ago, but they reported that having a more gender balanced workforce will improve your revenue by 15%, right? So there's your baseline right there. And then when you think about wider diversity, such as ethnic minorities or people from minority ethnic backgrounds, then your revenue opportunity is 35%. So when the business is really challenging you on your time to hire or your cost per hire, then it's what other information can you bring into that conversation to help them understand that actually if you want to bring diversity in, it's going to take a little bit longer, and thereby it's a longer term strategy. So for me, it's bringing that external thought leadership in, and I'd like to see more of that in TA, bringing and challenging the business more, because there isn't low hanging fruit out there on diversity. It has to, that there has to be a well thought through longer term strategy.
Thank you both for those juicy thoughts. We hope everyone is buzzing with excitement at the thought of getting away from this podcast and getting stuck into measuring your strategy. This is the first in a series of a short webinar, which hopefully you're going to enjoy. Please do become a member at tainnovationhive.com. Download our toolkits, rate, review, give us your ideas, and stay tuned for more episodes coming soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks all.